My daughter was on life support when my mother texted, "Bring cupcakes for your niece's school celebration." I replied, "I'm at the hospital." She came back with, "You always spoil things." I was stunned, and then the doctor entered and said, "Your mom." Hey Reddit, before we get started, I've noticed the channel isn't gaining as much attention, and subscribing is the best way to support us. It's quick, free, and really helps grow this fantastic community. Now let's get into the story. My name is Jessica, and I'm 34 years old. I wish I could say my life is straightforward, but it hasn't been for a long time. I'm a single mother to an amazing little girl named Ellie, who just turned 6. She's my entire world, bright, cheerful, and the kind of child who draws hearts on napkins and gives them to strangers just to make them smile. I've raised her mostly by myself since her father left when she was a baby. I didn't mind. She was all I ever needed. I work full-time as a nurse in a pediatric clinic and manage everything. School pickups, laundry at midnight, birthday cakes baked after long shifts. My life is chaotic, but Ellie's laughter makes the chaos worthwhile. However, if there's one person who has never made anything easier, it's my mother. My mom, Marlene, has always shown a chilly kind of love, conditional, sharp-edged, and often downright harsh. Growing up, I was the scapegoat between my golden child brother, Matt, and her resentment toward my father, who left when I was 10. I think she always saw me as a reminder of her failed marriage. Still, I tried to earn her affection. I used to think that if I just did more, she'd love me like she loved Matt. When Ellie was born, I hoped that might soften her, but no. She barely acknowledged her first granddaughter, rarely visited, and seemed to compete with me through Matt's daughter, Ava, who is the same age as Ellie. I mention all this because you need to understand how it felt the night Ellie ended up in the ICU. It was a rainy Thursday evening, and Ellie had come down with what I thought was a stomach bug, but it escalated quickly. She was vomiting, feverish, and then suddenly unresponsive. I rushed her to the hospital, struggling to see through my tears. My training as a nurse vanished. I was just a terrified mother. They admitted her and diagnosed her with a rare complication from an undiagnosed infection. She was placed on life support within hours. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by her bedside, holding her tiny hand, watching the machines breathe for her. My heart ached every time the monitor beeped, and I kept whispering, "Please fight, baby, please." Around 6 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was my mother. I hesitated before opening the message. "Mom, bring cupcakes for your niece's school party. I told the teacher you'd drop them off before 9. I stared at it in disbelief. Cupcakes for Ava's party? Did she forget where I was, or worse, did she not care? I replied, "I'm in the hospital. Ellie is on life support." Her response came within seconds. "Mom, you always ruin things. Ava's looking forward to those cupcakes." This is just like you, Jessica. I froze, rereading that message over and over, the words sending a chill down my spine. My daughter could die at any moment, and my own mother was scolding me for not baking. I didn't respond. I just sat there, phone in hand, numb. I felt like I had been stabbed in the heart, not just because of her words, but because it wasn't the first time, and somehow this time it was worse. I was at my most broken, and she still found a way to blame me. About an hour later, a nurse gently tapped my shoulder, saying the doctor needed to speak with me. My heart raced as I followed him into the hallway, fearing the worst. But it wasn't about Ellie. The doctor's face was serious as he looked down at the chart and then at me. "Jessica, there's something else I need to tell you about. Your mother, she was admitted here last night too." I blinked. "What?" "She came in late last night with heart palpitations, possibly a mild cardiac event. She's stable now, resting upstairs. She listed you as her emergency contact." I felt like the ground had dropped out from under me. My mother, the same woman who texted me about cupcakes, was in the same hospital as my daughter, and she never mentioned it. I almost laughed, but nothing about this was funny. She had the audacity to guilt me for not baking for Ava while she was lying in a hospital bed herself, and I was expected to care. The doctor asked if I wanted to see her. I said no and returned to Ellie's room. I sat beside her, holding her hand, silently battling a storm of emotions inside me. I felt like I was being torn in two directions, one by a mother who had never truly loved me, and the other by a daughter who depended on me for everything. Then Matt called, his voice tense. "Jess, I heard about Mom. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I just found out myself," I replied. He paused, then added, "Also, she told me you didn't want to help with Ava's party because you were being dramatic again." I didn't realize Ellie was in the ICU. Of course she told you that, I muttered. Of course she didn't tell you the truth. Jess, I'm sorry. I should have asked. I didn't know how bad it was. Is she okay? I broke down then and told him everything about the infection, the life support, and how scared I was. Mom was quiet for a long time. I'll be there soon, he said. To his credit, he came. For the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't alone. Later that afternoon, I went to grab some coffee from the hospital vending machine. As I walked back to the ICU wing, I caught sight of my mother being wheeled through the hallway in a chair. She didn't see me, but I saw her face, pale and annoyed, as if being in the hospital was more of an inconvenience than a wake-up call. I didn't approach her. I turned and walked away. That night, I stood over Ellie again, brushing her hair back gently. I whispered stories of her favorite stuffed bunny and how he was waiting at home with a new dress just for her. I told her how proud I was of her and how brave she was. Then something happened. The machines beeped again, but this time one of the nurses rushed in with a smile. She's breathing more on her own, she said. It's a small improvement, but it's something. I cried harder than I ever had because maybe, just maybe, my daughter was fighting her way back to me. At that moment, I realized something else. Family isn't always blood. It's who shows up, who holds your hand at 3 a.m. in a cold hospital room, who cares about your child like their own. Sometimes you have to choose your own peace, even if it means closing the door on people who never truly open theirs for you. But the peace didn't last long because the next morning, my mother showed up in Ellie's room with a nurse, a sour expression, and news that would change everything. Just as the sunlight barely crept through the narrow blinds of Ellie's hospital room, I was jolted from a light sleep by a sharp knock from a nurse entering, but she wasn't alone. Pushed in a wheelchair, looking pale but still radiating that air of entitled irritation, was my mother. I blinked, half thinking it was a dream. The nurse gave me a polite smile. Your mother insisted on seeing you. She's been discharged but refused to leave until she talked to you in person. I took a deep breath. Ellie was still unconscious but stable, showing tiny but steady signs of improvement. I didn't want her presence here to disrupt the peace I was clinging to. Mom looked at Ellie for barely a moment before turning to me. Well, you look terrible, she said flatly. I stood up, arms folded. What do you want? She gave a tired little sigh, as if she were the one burdened by everything. I came to apologize, she muttered. But not for what you think. I frowned. For what then? She shifted in her chair, crossing her arms like a teenager being forced to say sorry. I shouldn't have sent that text about the cupcakes. I was stressed. Your brother was panicking about Ava's school stuff, and I didn't think it through. You could have just said no nicely. I stared at her. That was it. No concern for Ellie? No recognition of what I was going through? You didn't think it through, I repeated, my voice trembling. Ellie was dying. She was on life support, and you accused me of ruining a school party. Her face twitched, but she still didn't look genuinely sorry. I just didn't expect you to act so dramatically. You've always had a flair for making things bigger than they are. There it was, that same dismissive tone, the same refusal to ever take real accountability. I almost laughed. You mean like when Dad left and you blamed me? Like when I graduated nursing school and you skipped the ceremony because Matt had a dentist appointment? Or when Ellie was born and you said you were too tired to come to the hospital? Jessica, she snapped, don't start bringing up ancient history. I'm here now, aren't I? I took a step closer and looked her in the eyes. You're not here for Ellie. You're here because you want to control the story. You want to pretend like you showed up, like you cared. She flinched, and for the first time, I saw a crack in her expression. I know how you see me, she said quietly. You think I never loved you, that I always favored Matt, didn't you? I whispered. Even now, when I'm drowning, you hand me bricks instead of a rope. She looked away. I never knew how to love you the way you needed, she murmured. You were always so emotional, so different from me. I clenched my jaw. Ellie is emotional too, but I love her with everything I have. I don't punish her for it. I don't shut her out because she feels things deeply. Silence filled the room. Only the steady beep of Ellie's monitor echoed. Then my mother said something I never expected. I wasn't ready to be a mother when I had you. I resented you for needing more than I could give, and I see now that I failed you in ways I can't fix. For a moment, I felt the air shift, like the ground beneath us trembled with truths finally unearthed. I'd waited for those words my whole life, and somehow now that they were finally here, they felt empty. Too late, too rehearsed, like a line she thought she needed to say just to be forgiven. I nodded slowly. Thank you for saying that, but I don't need you to fix the past. I just need you to stay away from the present. Ellie doesn't need this chaos. I don't either. Her eyes widened. You're cutting me off. I looked at my daughter, still sleeping, the rise and fall of her chest stronger than yesterday. I'm choosing her. I'm choosing peace. And if that means keeping you out, then yes, I'm cutting you off. She stared at me like I'd slapped her, but I didn't care. For once in my life, I wasn't trying to appease her. I was protecting my child and myself. The nurse returned to escort her out. As they wheeled her away, my mother looked back one last time. You'll regret this, Jessica, she said. I met her gaze with something I'd never shown her before, strength. No, I won't. After she left, I sat beside Ellie again. I didn't cry this time. I felt free. Matt showed up later with coffee and breakfast. He took one look at me and raised an eyebrow. You okay? I nodded. Yeah, I finally told her the truth. He sighed. You sure you don't want to try to repair things with her? I shook my head. She's never been a mother to me, and I don't need to keep setting myself on fire just to keep her warm. He looked down, processing it, then gave a small smile. Well, Ellie's lucky she's got a mom who shows up. A few days later, Ellie woke up, her little fingers curling around mine as her eyes fluttered open. I swear I've never felt more alive. Mama, she whispered. I choked on a sob. I'm here, baby. I'm right here. And I was present, whole, stronger than I'd ever been. I didn't have my mother, but I had Ellie. I had peace. I had finally learned that being a good mother sometimes means breaking the cycle of damage your own mother left behind. I didn't bring cupcakes to a party. I brought my daughter back from the edge, and that will always be enough.